Yeah.
Why not?
All right, everybody, your microphone's on. Let's test. Does everybody hear us? Yep, I'm in. All right. Pastor Danny, we have Pastor Danny. Hello,
Yes, you
Pastor
do. Hi.
Danny. How are you?
Good, how are you?
Great. All right, go ahead, Karina. Okay, Rhonda, go ahead.
Thank you, everyone, for coming to this, our first quarterly meeting. But at the top of this, the beginning of this meeting, I just want us all to stand and take a moment of silence for the officers that just lost their lives. The officer and also to the second precinct officers who recently lost their lives as well. Our heart goes out to them. A moment of silence. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Karina Mendez, and these are our PLAB members, Precinct Level Advisory Board. We are excited to be here tonight. This is a new program, to say, that was started to further develop the relationship and the communication with the community, to bring concerns and work through them and create a little bit more of transparency. Before we start, I'd like to read some of our meeting guidelines. If you have any praise, concerns, suggestions, or improvement for our second precinct services, ideas for future presentations, there will be a maximum of 30 minutes for audience comments at the end of this meeting. Please hold all questions and feedback for this at that time and refrain from identifying officers by name at the microphone. Index cards and pens are provided to write your questions or feedbacks to share with the second precinct PLAB privately. This meeting is being recorded, so avoid sharing your personal identifying information like your street name or any other indications of where you are, who you are. Be aware that there will not be any bashing, political statements, or profanity during your comments. Suffolk County Police Department's second precinct officers are available at the back of the room to speak privately about crime, policing, tips, traffic enforcement, or specific neighborhood concerns. Please be advised that the fire exits from this room are located and there is a map on the wall near each door showing the exits from the building. Please familiarize yourself with this information.
Thank you. All right, we're going to start today with a definition of what is the precinct level advisory board. I'm just going to say a brief overview quickly. We're going to learn a lot more details about it. We've been meeting since the end of January, this second precinct PLAB, and we've been told by the second precinct that the second precinct is the most highly engaged community in the entire Suffolk County. So when it came to this board and the applications that were submitted, our precinct members submitted 30 applications. We had 30 people that were interested in joining a board of 12, which was more than double what any other precinct had. So this just proves that our community is already engaged and working with our police department. We're already doing a lot of these things, all of us independently together. A lot of us have been working together for many years in furthering these goals that we already have. So I wanna just stand here and say that even though this is a brand new construct as a result of lawsuits, legal things that happened, this board does work because we've already been doing it in the second precinct. That is why we are so highly engaged already. So we are kind of, have a big responsibility up here to be an example for the rest of the community, for the rest of the county also, to show them that it does work and how we can get it to work. So we look forward and are so grateful that you're here with us tonight or that you're watching, because we're ready to dig in, and we appreciate your time. So I'm gonna read the official, David's gonna read the official description from the SCPD website of exactly what this precinct level advisory board does. You need a microphone,
Oh, I do,
and you need to,
and I need the website.
yes, it has your name on it. And I printed it out, the second page.
So I read this 4 times, I memorized only the first page, but my part is on the second page.
There, that. That's your bit, right there.
So I'm gonna go off script, sorry.
Is your microphone on?
No.
Slide it up.
Hello.
Well, we can hear you.
So I'm gonna go off script and louder voice. So I'm the techie in the house, and what I like to do is build things. So when we found that we had a lot of things to say, we felt that we needed a tool to help us communicate, to establish information such as the definition that I will read, to look for resources that we receive from the Suffolk County Police Department, information we receive from the second precinct, and information that we have developed on our own. We have a news section that will talk about meetings, so we're hoping it's a resource and a tool to use in the future. And here we go. I don't see it. Sorry.
It's okay. You're gonna read this whole page, from top down. Take your agenda.
It'll take more than my allocated time, so overview and membership qualifications for the second precinct advisory board. A component of Suffolk County's police reform and reinvention process aimed at making policing more community-centered was the recommendation of creating a precinct level advisory board, formerly known as precinct community advisory councils. Precinct level advisory boards are an organized approach to cultivating long-lasting, problem-solving partnerships between Suffolk County Police and the public. Volunteer community leaders on each advisory board, who span a diverse array of backgrounds and experiences, will liaise between their community and the precinct to facilitate lines of communication between both parties and assist with enhancing relationships between the police and the community. So we have duties, and they are enhancing police-community relations, serving as a liaison between the police department and the community, reviewing and providing a community perspective to recommendations concerning programs and effectiveness of the precinct's services delivered to the community, promoting the precinct's existing monthly community meetings to solicit public input regarding police services and programs, promoting public awareness of county programs and services, including but not limited to business and residential crime prevention programs, safety training, domestic violence intervention, school district police relations.
Thank you, David.
Hello, testing.
Slide the, is it?
No, it's working.
It's on. Okay, great, okay, thank you, okay, great. This is Terrell.
So I will be reading from the Latino Justice Settlement Agreement, which articulates certain components that are necessary within the precinct level advisory board. Not to be duplicative of what David just read, so I will begin at the rules and procedures. A PLAB may adopt rules and procedures that will govern PLAB meetings. A PLAB may form committees to address issues of a particular concern. As it relates to the meetings, there's a specific schedule that we must abide by. First, it is expected that each PLAB shall hold quarterly meetings at times and places designated to maximize attendance. The precinct shall be made available as a meeting space should the PLAB choose to meet there. All meetings of the PLAB shall be open to the public. The SCPD shall publish notifications for PLAB meetings in the alerts and advisory section of each precinct's landing page on the SCPD's website. Each precinct shall publish notice of the PLAB meetings on each social media platform used by the SCPD or its precincts. As it relates to the participation of the precincts, the commanding officer for each precinct or his or her designee of rank of captain or above shall attend at least one PLAB meeting each quarter for the precinct in person. The community liaison officer for each precinct or another member of the Community Relations Bureau shall attend at least one PLAB meeting each quarter for that precinct in person. A minimum of 2 patrol officers will attend at least one PLAB meeting each quarter in person for each precinct to provide an opportunity for community members to become familiar with the officers who are tasked with providing public safety for their neighborhoods unless there is a staffing shortage. A COPE officer will regularly attend PLAB meetings each quarter. Annually, at a regular scheduled quarterly meeting, the commanding officer will be available to present up-to-date data on the precinct's stop activities, drawn from the traffic and pedestrian stop data dashboards, including, but not limited to, total number of stops for the quarter preceding the PLAB meeting, demographic breakdown of stops for the quarter preceding the PLAB meeting, breakdown of the number of stops that resulted in summonses, searches, or arrests, demographic analyses of the individuals who were summoned, searched, or arrested after a stop, and comparison of the stop data for the quarter preceding the PLAB meeting to the stop data for the quarter in the prior calendar year. During each PLAB meeting, SCPD participants will be available for questions from PLAB members and members of the public to ensure clear lines of communication between SCPD and the community it serves.
Thank you very much. Rhonda is going to read the next and final part.
My part consists of qualifications, application process, and selections. So, the PLAB requirements are: we must have a high level of care and concern for the neighborhood, be committed to working collaboratively alongside the community leaders and officers within their precinct, be willing and able to commit to quarterly meetings and responsibilities as designated, have a strong network of relationships throughout the community with those most impacted by police interactions. As June said, prior to the PLAB being, PLAB members being appointed, we all acted in this regularly for decades.
Great, thank you. All right, we're gonna take a moment to introduce your second precinct PLAB board members. I think I'm gonna start, Jimmy, do you feel comfortable starting?
Sure.
Okay, the microphone's in front of you if you could grab that.
I want to introduce Inspector Kevin
That's after.
Williams.
First up.
Oh, you want to?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't, that's.
All right, we'll start at this end. All right,
Let them
sorry.
introduce themselves.
All right, yes.
Let them
Dave,
introduce themselves.
you were supposed to introduce yourself, but that's good. David, go ahead. Sorry.
I'm back.
Yeah.
So this was on page 4, which I didn't read. I'm David Pinkowitz, and besides being a techie, I'm active in the town of Huntington. I participate as a volunteer in a variety of ways. Member organizations that I participate in are NAACP, the second PLAB, Tri-CYA, Huntington Housing Coalition, and Anti-Bias Task Force. I've been a Melville resident for more than 40 years and counting.
It's on? Okay, all right. I'm Ken Patrick Johnson. Happy to be here this evening with my colleagues on this PLAB. It's great to see everyone in attendance, including all of the personnel from the precinct. I've been living in Huntington for 34 years now. Very active in a myriad of community service organizations. I've been actively volunteering for the past 10 years. Huntington is a very, very active town because people take a lot of pride living here. They want to see Huntington be the best it could be. When I'm not doing community stuff, I'm a small business owner, and I'm just here trying to make my contribution to making Huntington better. Thank you.
Hello again, my name is Terrell Dozier. I'm a Next Gen franchise owner, restaurant franchise owner. I live and work in Huntington. I've been volunteering for a few years now with the Long Island United to transform policing and community safety. I've also historically volunteered with Long Island Network for Change, which I see represented here. And I am very excited to be here and to have you all with us. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Lisa Hargrove. I've been a Huntington Station resident for 18 years. My current position is a software administrator for a property management company. I've been volunteering for the last 13 years for Whitman Village as president, and I'm very happy to be here.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Dan Rivera, and I am the lead pastor of Huntington Assembly of God, the two buildings next to the Checkers on New York Avenue. That's what everybody knows. I've been here for 10 years. I am a transplant from Nassau County in Queens, but for the past 10 years, I've been pastoring in this area, loving and serving our community, and I live in beautiful Huntington Station as well. There you go.
Good afternoon, everyone. Oh, sorry. My name is Kevin. Thank you for all coming today to join us. I've been living in the town of Huntington for almost 12 years.
Where do you work?
Yeah, I'm working right now at Mazda dealership, brother. It's a matchup. I went to Huntington High School. One of the reasons here is we're trying to make the community better with working with the police and everything, fix the issue with the community. You can see here, the jungle's one here. And I was a police explorer for 5 years, and now with Officer Elizabeth, and yep.
Definitely not the youngest, David. Like I said earlier, my name's Karina Mendez. I am a transplant from Brooklyn, New York, but I've lived in Huntington for 26 years. I raised my family here. I've been lucky enough to work with the two major districts in Huntington, which is South Huntington, and now I'm at Huntington. I do a lot of volunteer work in a lot of the same organizations that my co-members participate in. I worked during the COVID initiative program with the governor of New York, making sure underserved areas received equitable distribution. I am part of 3 not-for-profit organizations that focus on the youth and veterans of the community. I volunteer at the TRI, I belong to the South Huntington Anti-Bias Task Force for Latinos, and now I'm here.
Excellent. Hi, I'm June Margolin. I was trying to do the math, I think 45-year resident of the town of Huntington. I've been living in Huntington Station with my family for the last, 23 years. I am currently the president of Huntington Matters, which is a civic organization that began after violence in our community 9 years ago. 9 years ago, I began running the neighborhood watch for Huntington Matters, working closely with the police department, 2nd Precinct, and we've made great strides as a community. Like I said, it works. I spent 12 years as assistant practice manager for Dix Hills Animal Hospital, and I also volunteer pretty much wherever it's needed, all over the town. So it's an honor to be here, to be selected, and, Karina and I are also co-chairs of the PLAB, but we're all equals here, so.
I don't like microphones.
Yeah,
I'm Diane Shaver, I've been here my whole life, and that's a long time, 68 years. In the town of Huntington. Growing up in the town of Huntington, I volunteered at almost everything because my parents made me. And got involved with Girl Scouts, taught Girl Scouts, and when I was in high school, was involved with all different kinds of things in the town, whatever was going on. I'm a member and part of the board of Huntington Matters as well, where we volunteer wherever we're needed, and it's a full-time volunteer position. If you need us, we're there. I worked at Huntington Hospital for 33 years, and the American Red Cross, and when it was in Huntington for 12 years. And now I'm here.
Hi, my name is Rhonda Taylor Gooden, and I wear many hats, literally. But anyway, it's not about me. I sit on many boards. I'm a transplant from Brooklyn. I've been out here for 35 years though, and I worked for the town of Huntington for 28 years. I'm also a business owner in Huntington Village, a boutique. My church is here, I live here, I work here, but I'm here to serve. And where I'm from, where my grandmother was from, we did the same thing. She was a pillar of her community in Brooklyn, and I'm just carrying the torch out here. And I'm here to serve you guys on every board that I'm on. I still am here to make our community a better place for everyone living here. That's from the small to the least to the greatest. We all deserve a right to live in a peaceful community, so that's why I'm here.
And you're a small business owner?
I said that.
Okay.
I did, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I wear many hats.
My name's Jim McGoldrick. I'm a resident of Huntington Station for 65 years. I grew up in Huntington Station. I've been around this community for approximately 15 years, but 10 years I've been very active. I got very active 10 years ago when the violence in Huntington Station was out of control. I've worked with the police department, I've worked with the county, I've worked with the state, I've worked with the federal government to improve things. We are in a better place, but there's always room for improvement. I also sit on the board, the Affordable Housing Board, the Huntington Housing Authority Board. I play Santa for 3 or 4 different organizations. And right now, we work with the police, and we're in a better place for that. And I'd like to thank the police officers in the back. I'd like to thank Lieutenant Love for appearing, and I'd like also to thank Tom Donnelly and Ms. Bontempi for taking the time to come.
Thank you.
And I think as a group, if we all work together, and if we expect transparency from the police department, this group has to be transparent.
Yep. Great.
So if we're not transparent, it's not gonna work. And that the community deserves transparency from us too.
Yep.
It's not one-sided. Thank you.
Now you introduce me.
Hi, Chris Love. I'm an attorney with the SCPD Legal Bureau. I've been our primary contact with the U.S. Department of Justice for our negotiated settlement since 2013.
Kevin Williams, I'm the commanding officer of the 2nd Precinct. Thank you everybody for coming. I'd like to thank the legislators also. Chris Love is here as an expert, and he will touch up base on our language line program and the Latino justice settlement, just so you know when you see it. I'm going to bring up some of my officers to introduce themselves.
Can I just say, excuse me, I forgot about Deputy. The Deputy back there? Sorry.
Not yet.
Deputy, my name is Joe Houseworth. I'm the Deputy Inspector of the Second Precinct. Been involved in law enforcement just a little bit over 43 years, going on 38 in Suffolk County. And I'd like to say thank you. I'm looking forward to the opportunity of working with the PLAB for the betterment of the community and for the Second Precinct.
Hello, I'm Kevin McCann. I'm the captain of the Second Precinct. My phone is always available for anyone here. I'm here because I want to be, same as you. I'm impressed with this program. I enjoy hearing what the board was saying, and I want to see this highly successful.
Hi, I'm Police Officer Vaughn Hawkins. I've been with the department for about 6 years. Been in the community support unit for almost 2 years.
Hello, my name is Vincent Sedano. I am the newest officer here in the Second Precinct.
Mike Casey, Sergeant, Community Support Unit. Been here in the Second for about 2 years now, about 8 years with the department. Look forward to meeting you guys and getting to know what you guys need.
Hello everyone, I'm Officer Alyssa Dowdy. I'm the Second Precinct Co-Officer with Jamie, and we work in the community. We try and bring the community together in a positive light, and we're also here all the time for the needs of anyone. Our phones are always ringing, emails always going off, and we're happy to help in any way that we can. And I've been with the department for almost 10 years.
My name is Police Officer Jamie Wessenhoff. My partner is Alyssa. I'm in the COPE unit. I've been in the department almost 13 years.
I'm also Steve Cattell, been with the department about 3 years. Working in the community support unit with Sergeant Casey and also Hawkins. And we're always happy to help out and do whatever you guys need to do.
I'd like to make a motion.
All right, we just wanted to acknowledge one more person that came into the room with us today. We have Felix Adeye, who is the Program Evaluations and Community Engagement Director out of the Police Commissioner's Office. He has been instrumental in getting the PLABs off the ground, helping us be organized, helping, field 100 million emails from 98 people around Suffolk County. And we're very thankful for his support here today. Thank you for coming,
Thank you, Felix.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes from March 6, 24 executive session.
Second.
Aye.
All in favor? Everything approved? Everything good? Okay.
I abstained. I did it by Zoom.
Oh, right.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
That's right. Well, you read, right, okay, gotcha. Yep, you're right. Okay. Great. Okay, next we're gonna move over to, while we read the official, David read the official website definition, that's on the SCPD website, of what the PLABs are. And then there is extra information regarding what our responsibilities are that Terrell read. And that comes right out of the Latino Justice Agreement that does not appear on the SCPD website. So in addition to that, which already sounds like an awful lot to do, the second PLAB also set our own goals of things that we would like to accomplish in our term. Our terms are 2 years. So Danny's gonna read the first one, and then we're gonna have 3 members read one each, read the goals. You got it, Mike, Danny?
Yeah, I think I'm loud enough.
Okay.
Monitor police department compliance with the court order 2023 Latino Justice Agreement and the 2014 agreement between the United States Department of Justice and the Suffolk County Police Department.
The next goal is to provide input to the Second Precinct of the Suffolk County Police Department in furtherance of compliance with the Latino Justice and DOJ agreements.
And we will promote transparency to the PLAB to ensure that the community is engaged and informed.
There you go. We put on a pretty heavy cloak. All right, so next up is we're going to prepare for the SCPD presentation. I just have to say that apparently our topic for today is the status of the compliance with the court-ordered 2023 Latino Justice Agreement and the 2014 agreement between the United States Department of Justice and the Suffolk County Police Department. And the reason why we selected this as a topic is because keeping an eye on this is a bit of our responsibility as PLAB, as the Latino Justice Agreement outlines. So we just kind of wanted to get a litmus test, a handle on where we're at, kind of a thing. So the inspectors and the SCPD have prepared a presentation for us for that. So at this time, the board is going to leave the stage because unfortunately the screen comes down in front of our face. So just give us a moment. And Tyler, just wait till we clear, Tyler. All right, turn the microphone. Tyler, okay, turn the screen on. All right, while we do this and resettle ourselves, behind you are the lights. There's like a thing there where we can maybe lower the lights over everybody out there. Yep. Oh, hi, right here. All right, great. So while we do this, I just want to explain one more time. We're going to hold any questions during the presentation. Just hold them to the last 30 minutes. And we handed out index cards for everybody to write their issues, ideas, questions, comments that you might have as a result of watching the presentation or other things. If you need an index card and you don't have one or a pen, please raise your hand and Tyler will come and get you. All right. We'll be fine. I think they can see. Okay, yeah, so, yeah, please give, oh, good, we found the lights. It's a new building, so it's our first time here. All right, the next thing is, yes, the index cards will be collected. It's okay to be anonymous. Officers at this time during the presentation and after will be available at the back of the room for private conversation. If you have to leave early, please give your index card and pen to Tyler, who's in the lumberjack shirt over there. And that is all. So without further ado, second precinct.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, use that microphone if you
Okay. Hopefully everybody can hear me. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
All right, so we got a very impressive PLAB committee here, as you can see. If you listen to their resume, I'm very happy to have everybody that signed up for the board. It was not an easy selection process, but I believe we have the best of the best. Most of these people that you see in front of you, they're engaged in the community, and that's pretty much what this whole program is about. And I know there's a lot of fancy definitions of what the PLAB is and what they're supposed to do, but it's very simple for me. I think that any way they can help me do my job better, I encourage any kind of feedback. Also, you know, communication between me and the PLAB and the community, in my opinion, is super important. And I have no doubt that these people will reach out to me with any kind of concerns. Any way that my officers can do a better job, and any kind of suggestions you have will be welcome with me. I know they submitted a lot of questions to me. Some of the questions were a little beyond my purview of what I do here in the precinct. I pretty much run the precinct and the office that work here. Some of these Justice Department questions and the Latino Justice Settlement are beyond me. So that's kind of what headquarters does. And I'm lucky to have Lieutenant Love here to explain a little bit more about the Latino Justice Settlement. But I will go over the traffic dashboard a little, so you got an idea of what I can look at and how the officers input the data into that, into the dashboard. So, you probably enjoy that. Did you have some? Oh, I thought you were, yeah, so anyway, we'll moving along. We're gonna pull up the dashboard and we'll go over some of the features of it. Okay, I'm gonna have to work off of what's in front of me here. So what we're looking at here is, this is for the whole county, okay? And it's the fourth quarter of 2023. So in October of 2023, they changed the way they collect the data on the dashboard. And you can see the number here, okay? The total amount of traffic stops for the county, I'm just gonna go right to the second precinct, but if you look up on the top right, 35,000 stops, okay? And then total searches within those stops is 546, only about 1.5%. So I'm gonna go over here to the second precinct. And you can see that in the fourth quarter of 2023, we made 3,710 stops, okay? And if I click on that, it'll bring it up. This is just the second precinct stats. So if you look on the bottom, it kind of breaks down the dispositions of the traffic stops. So we had a total of 3,710, and if you look kind of over here, okay, we have so out of those 3,000 stops right here, we issued 1,495 summonses. And then over here, if you look, we gave 2,118 warnings. So if you understand how it works, officers have discretion out there when they pull a car over, and they could either issue a warning or issue a summons. As you can see here in the second, we're very kind and gentle, and we've given out more warnings than we've given out summonses. But I can tell you from reviewing some of the body camera footage that sometimes that goes a long way. Just trying to educate somebody on, you know, the mistake they made behind the wheel. Sometimes it's a little bit better public relations for us. So those are the numbers we have. You can look over here, breaks it down by race, the amount of stops. Looking over here in the blue, this is white non-Hispanic race. We had 1,599 stops. That's about 43% of total. And then here, this is Hispanic, 1,217, about 32%. And here, Black or African American, 15%, 571 stops. So just so you know, when the officer stops a car, okay, your license doesn't have your race on it, and we're not asking that question. So it's based on a perception of the officer at the time of the stop, okay? Could be sometimes, I mean, most of my officers are pretty sharp and to be able to tell what race, but sometimes it's not that cut and dry. Okay, so there probably is a little room for a margin of error there, just so you're aware that's how the race is determined, just by the perception. We could go up to the top now, and just so you know, everybody can go on this. You go to our department website, and you go to the Transparency Hub tab, and you could bring this up, and you can look at this at home on your own. I'm just giving you like a purview of it here. So now we're going to go to searches. Okay. It's a little bit harder to do the searches because you got to go into basically the hamlet itself to have it break down. Okay, it doesn't do it by precinct. So I'll just go to Huntington Station here, and we had 46 searches, and if I click on it, okay, it breaks it down a little bit better. Looks like we had 11 searches of African American, 21 Hispanic, and 6 of white, okay? And if you go to blue, they didn't find anything, the color blue up here, 11 searches that nothing was found. And then 21 on Hispanic, nothing was found, and then on white, and 6, nothing found. And then if you go to green, it tells you if a weapon or contraband, which can be drugs, was found. And then on the right, you can break it down on the dispositions of the searches. On this one with the African American, okay, verbal warning, there was 3 searches, so they gave a verbal warning on those. On this one, traffic summons was given on 5 searches. And then on the others, there was an arrest, 5 arrests relative to the search. And then going down Hispanic, 10 searches resulting in arrests. Here was a field appearance ticket, which is, it's like a ticket to appear in court. It's in lieu of bringing a guy into the precinct, you can issue it right on the street for a violation or a misdemeanor. So in one search, that's what resulted. And then on this one, there were 6 searches that resulted in just a traffic summons as a disposition. And then here, verbal warning, 6 verbal warnings. Going down to white, we had 2 searches that resulted in verbal warning. 1 involved a traffic summons, 2 field appearance tickets, so they were issued some to appear in court. And then 5 arrests resulting in searches of white people. That's real quick, the breakdown of the traffic dashboard.
Can you scroll up and you see where it says searches by hamlet? You see that teeny weeny view location map? At the top, go a little higher, now down a little bit.
Okay.
Now, right above that, you see those 3 words, view location map?
Yes.
Click that. And then it turns every single
Okay.
arrest into a dot on a map. So if you
Okay.
go back to the traffic stop, well, this is easy to see, but if you go back to the traffic stops tab.
You're looking at the whole county though here,
Yeah,
so it's a little
right, you can
confusing.
zoom in, you
So,
know,
yeah,
with
you-
the plus and all that,
Yeah,
but.
you can zoom into the area.
Yeah,
Inspector,
exactly.
Kind of
Inspector,
see.
if I can just add really quickly.
Go ahead.
So this dashboard that you guys see here, folks, is a living and breathing organism. We're making updates to it on a consistent and continual basis. The most recent update that you can see on your left-hand side is a checkbox for the precinct.
All
So we're in the
right.
second precinct, so if you can check that box
Yeah.
right there,
Yeah.
Inspector, it should be able to
Nice.
provide you a more narrow
Nice.
view.
That-
Right,
is
so
that added
everything
to
else
that?
everything else should play off of that,
Okay.
particular, segment right there.
Yeah, very good. Okay, so, you know, we did the hamlet of Huntington Station, we could go into Huntington if you want. 16 searches took place in the village, so we'll take a look at that. Real quick. Again, go down, 2 searches here, nothing was found, African American, Hispanic, 5 searches, nothing found, and white, 2 searches, nothing found. And then go back up, 2 searches, there was contraband or a weapon found on African American, Hispanic, contraband or weapon 3, and then on the white, there was no dispositions as far as any weapons found. So not a lot of searches. If you look at the percentage, I would say it's fairly low. You know, we're not in the habit of stopping cars and searching them on a regular basis. You know, we have to have a little bit more, and then I'll get into that actually on the next slide. So has everybody got a kind of a grasp on how that traffic dashboard works? Again, if you go to SuffolkPD.org, you'll be able to pull it up. If you want to go over some of the terms, the glossary, you want to do that, or it's going to take time, but we can do that.
We'll just let them know where it is, yeah, I think
Yeah, you
we
can,
know where it is, yeah.
If you have questions of some of the police jargon that I've spoken and you don't understand, you go over here, you click on that box that said glossary, and then you can go down, you can get a definition of a lot of things here.
Can you explain what a lights on voucher is, because
Sure.
it's not in the glossary, and can you pick your microphone up or the video can't hear everything you're saying? There you go. Cool, thank you.
I thought the light voucher, it's here.
Oh, there it is.
So,
I'm just blind.
the lights on voucher came about from the reform bill. A lot of people complaining that, when they were stopped, they had, equipment violations, basically. They dealt with equipment violations, and, I could say, I guess, people that weren't as affluent, sometimes they can't get their, the violations of the car. Sometimes it can be complicated, you know, it's not as simple as just changing a light bulb any time. And then maybe they won't be able to get their, car inspected because of that. So they come up with a program called the Lights On Voucher, where officers can stop somebody from having a light out, and they can issue them the Lights On Voucher. And it's a prepaid voucher, and then they can go to one of these garages that agree to accept this, and they can get their car fixed, and it's at no cost to the motorist. So it helps with community relations a little bit. There was complaints about the way officers were actually enforcing the law as far as that, so this helps a little bit as far as that. I won't go through, there's a lot of definitions, it's not, I don't think it's really, we need to go through that.
Where do we find this?
Okay, so I'll go back, hold on a second. So this is the department website, okay, and, just go back one more.
The first time.
Yeah.
There it is,
Yeah.
okay. So, yeah, I wanna go all the way back. Well, that's it. Okay, so this is the department website, yes. The
Hey,
famous,
Bill.
the famous
Mr.
inspector, who now is the chief. So anyway, you go to the department website, like I said, SuffolkPD.org, and this comes up, and then you go up to that tab right there, Transparency Hub. And you can look at a lot of different things. I know this traffic, dashboard is up to date, so that's accurate information right now. I believe maybe the pedestrian one too, is that one?
Yes, it is.
That also is up to date.
Great.
Okay, so, let's go out of this and go back to my PowerPoint. And so, this one, we did the dashboard, right? Okay. That just explains, the traffic dashboard. What's this? This one? Oh, just this one. All right, so when we get into searching vehicles, this was a question I had. Did the board decision, actually, Chris would probably really dissect this better than I can, but the board decision was an appeals court decision that kind of gave officers like guidance in how you can, how you get to a certain point where you can make an arrest or you can search somebody on the street encounters, basically, when officers have street encounters, but it also comes into play when we're dealing with vehicle stops. So there's 4 levels of the BOR. The first one being basically request information, okay? So say you see somebody on the street and you just wanna find out who he is. You can ask him, you know, what are you doing here and who are you? He doesn't have to answer you, and he doesn't have to produce an ID. You have to have more than that to ask for like a license or something. He could walk away from you and there's really nothing that an officer can do. So when we get to the next level, okay, you have to have some kind of founded suspicion, all right, that maybe this guy is up to something. Criminality is afoot, is how to describe it. So maybe you get a description of a person and there was a store that was broken into and he happened to be in close proximity, and maybe you got a description over the radio of a guy wearing, you know, like a red hoodie or something. So you got this guy. Now we get to the next level. We have found suspicion that maybe criminality is happening, okay? Then to get to the next level where you can stop and detain him, all right, we're gonna raise the level up, reasonable suspicion. And to get to that, you have to suspect that someone has committed, is committing, or is about to commit a crime in the penal law, which is a misdemeanor or a felony. And then taking that scenario I gave you, maybe you see that the guy has glass on his hooded jacket, and he's nervous, you're talking to him. We could get to where we stop and hold him there. And this is also the area where you may be able to frisk him, but the frisk is based solely on your safety. Okay, so if an officer stops somebody at this point, and he fears that maybe this guy might have a weapon, he would be able to frisk the outside of his clothing to search for a weapon, and that's what you're searching for, something that could harm you. And that's, a lot of people know where to stop, question, frisk. This is the frisk section of that. And then from there, if you find something else and you come up with, which would be probable cause, then you're gonna actually make an arrest. So that's the 4 levels of the BOR. Officers are trained in that in the academy. That's part of the program in the academy. The guys that have been out on the street, they get updated training, in-service training, and we get directives and bulletins. But we go by the BOR now. This is the judgment from the appeals court on how we have street interaction.
How long has it been in place, DeVore?
I don't know, what, 75?
Oh, so-
1975,
okay,
so it's
got
been a while.
Do you want us to hold our questions to the end?
Yeah, I think so, right?
Yeah, the
No.
audience, but PLAB can ask,
Got it.
so, okay, just make notes of that.
I'm on, thank
Okay.
you.
This is just another, kind of graphic of the BOR, but I pretty much explained it. I'd like to talk a little bit about the body-worn camera program. As you know, all police officers now in Suffolk County are equipped with body-worn cameras. In the second precinct alone, 13 of our cars also have cameras, and we can thank the town of Huntington because they were able to get a grant that helped put more cameras in our cars. And then with the cars with the cameras also have plate readers, and then we have 3 other plate readers on top of that. So these tools are great for us to gather information. If we have like a crime pattern somewhere and an officer's in that area, some of these license plate readers will gather the plates in that area, so we can search the database to see if, maybe a car that could be related to these burglaries are there. So these are all great tools that we have. Basically, almost every call is on camera, and this is a great tool for me to be able to review what my officers are doing out there. When we talk about vehicle stops, I look at a lot of those, just to see the interaction that my officers have in the public. And I would say 99% of them are very positive. Most people, they're either apologetic for what they did, for getting pulled over or whatever, but the officers follow protocol. They're advising the motorist why to stop. Usually they give their name, I'm Officer so-and-so, second precinct, I stopped you for this reason. And then on the flip side, at the end, they give them the ticket and they basically explain how to answer the ticket. So I know my DI back there, I thank him a lot because he reviews probably more camera footage than anybody in the whole county. And it takes a little bit of the burden off me. All our supervisors are required to review footage, okay? Not every one, but they have to review a certain amount, okay? And then we have a program for that where they review it. And we suggest on, certain calls that are a little more involved than others that they take a good look at it to make sure. But this is a great tool for us as supervisors to be able to see what our officers are doing out there. And again, I can say most of our interactions with the public are very positive.
Can you expound on that? So, with the supervisors requiring to review footage, is it like there's a certain amount of footage per month or per week or something of that nature? Is that like there's a review process? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I believe that. Felix, can you help me out on this one? Because I think it's, is it a monthly review or is it a weekly?
Yeah, so at the base level, and LT can provide a little bit more support. At the base level, the supervising officer is required to audit a set number of body-worn cameras on a monthly basis, but typically most of them are looking at it on a weekly and daily basis. want to provide some clarity.
And is that just simply like a randomly identified, like just like a randomly selected pool
So,
of
so
calls?
the software platform that the footage resides in will automatically generate a random video of officers assigned to that supervisor. And the department can put in parameters to get specific calls. So right now, this month, it's domestic violence calls. So the first line supervisor will get 5 domestic violence calls, all of officers that are assigned to him or her. And then the second line supervisor will have to watch 5 videos each set. And then it just increases as it goes up the chain of command until it gets to the inspector.
Thank you.
Does this prohibit any supervisor from basically looking at any videos that they wanna look at? If they have a specific officer they wanna check on, they can pretty much look at every video he's made. So, I mean, that's a minimum of what they have to do, but they can take it as much as they want. Like, he watches hundreds of them, and, you know, it's good, it helps us. Okay, gonna move on to the language line. And I'll just go over a couple of points real quick. We have the language line, that any phone that an officer can access can be used to put us in contact with the language line. And then the 911 operators, if they receive a call where they believe there's a language barrier, they will designate the call with an L, and then it will be dispatched to the officer. And when he gets that L call, there are certain dispositions he has to put into the computer of how that call was, whether he used a language line or an interpreter or one of our officers, you know, who speaks Spanish. And then in the precinct last year, they did 9 audits. Internal Affairs will do audits of these Lima calls. And they did 9 of them last year in the 2nd precinct, and only 1 resulted in non-compliance. So that's a pretty good ratio, I would say. But I'll let Chris talk a little bit more about the language line and the Latino Justice Settlement.
Thank you. All right, I'll bring us through the website to show you where it is. So from our homepage there, if you go to the Transparency Hub, which we're already on here, we have a language access section. So just as a background reference, the department has been in a negotiated settlement agreement with the Justice Department since 2014, January 13th, 2014. And all of these subjects you see here are subjects of that settlement agreement. So hate crimes, traffic stop data collection, language access, community relations, and police misconduct. And that settlement agreement arose out of the Marcelo Lucero homicide in Patchogue back in 2008, and the complaints that flowed from that. So we began negotiating with the Department of Justice in 2011, and then we eventually entered into the agreement in 2014. So there's no litigation behind it, so it was something that we were involved in from the very beginning, unlike Latino Justice and other lawsuits, which we don't get involved in until they're finalized by our counsel. So these are the areas from the settlement agreement and language access. Dashboard is right here. Okay, and what I did, actually, I wasn't sure how many folks we were gonna have here, is I just diluted the board to the 2nd precinct specifically, and I've got a little packet here with some graphs and other neat stuff. I'm gonna leave it in the back if anybody.
You leave it on that table behind you, that's
Good for
fine.
you guys,
Yeah,
you can take that with you. Everything that's on here is on the dashboard, it's just I took it out to make it a little bit easier to navigate.
Thank you.
So as you can see here, the data set we have is from the last quarter of 23. One of the issues we're facing with these dashboards, you know, they're a function of the Latino Justice Settlement. One of the issues we're facing is our IT support. So it's really difficult to get IT support at this point, especially with the systems that we're putting in place. So we actually just rehired a former employee as a private contractor who's going to be doing this again, and we're going to be seeing a lot more current data on here. We're going to be doing a lot more data analysis in-house as well in the very near future. We just finished this contract a couple of weeks ago. So this is the 4th quarter of 23. L calls are calls which are designated by the 911 call taker as possibly needing language assistance. So when a 911 caller reaches our call takers and they have any sort of language barrier, or if the call taker perceives a language barrier, or occasionally if the call taker makes a mistake, they designate it an L call, and that puts the officer on notice that there could be some language element to the call when they get there. So you can see department-wide, for that quarter, we had 12,000 calls, and of those 12,000, only about half actually did require language assistance. Right, so almost half of them, there was a reason that language assistance was not required, and what we have down here are our top reasons for why that assistance was not required. Just walking through the dashboard here, we have it broken down by hamlet. I took a quick look at the second precinct. The second precinct, Huntington Station, comes in at number 3 as far as volume based on hamlets. It's kind of dwarfed by third precinct like every other hamlet is, but it comes in third, and then it doesn't appear again for a second precinct hamlet until I think Comac, which is like 24th. And in this, I did a little breakdown of the second precinct in comparison to the rest of the department, which you can take a look at on the way out. If we go down here, if you use this dashboard and interact with it, you're not familiar with this BI software, I'm not myself. A lot of times you'll click on something and you'll change all the graphs because it'll go to that specific thing that you clicked on. If that happens to you and you kind of get lost, I found that just refreshing the page usually is the best way to go. And it'll just start you all over again at the macro level, and then you can drill down again to what you're looking for. But if we click here on the precinct, and we have just our second precinct data, we have all your hamlets here, and then we can go back up and see that of that 12,000, only about 1,300 came to the second precinct. Only about 1,300 L calls came out, and again, pretty similarly, about half required language assistance. Of the reasons down here, I kind of cleaned this up a little bit in the handout. Of the reasons of why language assistance was not provided, so that would have been, the other 634 calls. Aided cases are by far the largest reason. In aided cases, an ambulance run, when somebody is calls 911 because they're injured, suffering from an illness, or require medical assistance. And most of the time we found that those calls, the folks in the ambulance, from the ambulance companies are more suited to interacting with those people because they can actually provide the services for them and they handle the interpretation, unless there's some sort of element of violence or criminality. So sometimes you get an aided case that actually turns out to really be a victim of an assault, so that's a different scenario that doesn't go into that category. Very often the folks who call 911 are not there when the police get there. Passing motorists calling in motor vehicle accidents, that sort of thing. So that's another large reason that it's not, language assistance is not given. And then we have other. We have other split into 2 categories. This is currently the thing that we're focusing on right now. We found that most of the time officers put in other. They're actually just mislabeling it. It's one of the available categories, and they're not using it. They're going to the other to close the call. In order to do reporting, the officers have to answer the questions regarding language assistance on every call. So, good question.
Thank you.
So, in order to dispose of, in order to complete the call that they've been assigned, they have to answer these language questions. So it's not an optional thing. So that's why sometimes we get that input data as well. I just want to see if as far as interpretations go, is that a field on here? Here we go. So I think the inspector brought up the language line. This is countywide now, not exclusive to the second precinct. As you can see, we have a significant number of increased language line usage from 2022 to 2023. Pretty significant. Yeah. So there's a lot of language line usage going on right now. We anticipate that's going to go up. And we source that data. That's the only outsourced data we have that comes directly from language line, because that's what they base their billing on.
Why do you think that's happening? just better training of the officers?
No, I think, you know, you had a lot of slowdown in calls over COVID, and I think that might be some of that catching up, people coming back out. Also, a lot of more officers on the street. We've hired a lot of officers in the last 4 years, so there's just a higher volume of that as well. But, yeah, it's a pretty significant increase. The other types of interpretation are not really easy to see here. They will be a little bit easier to see in the handout, but that light blue line there, that is bilingual officers, and the authorized interpreters should be the purple line, which is right below it. So these are folks who are Suffolk County police officers who have been certified as interpreters. We have an outside, it's actually Language Line, provides a course and a certification process by which they can get certified either as an interpreter, which allows them to do three-way interpretations, or as a bilingual officer, which allows them to just handle the call on their own. The other two values here are passers-by, basically civilians, and those in the department who speak another language but are not certified in that language. And these, again, these are all languages, but as you can see from the graph right here, by far Spanish is the language of choice among the constituency here. There's a smattering of other ones, and we do have a few interpreters, certified people in other languages, but the overwhelming majority is Spanish. Yeah, we don't see too much Haitian Creole at all. Really? Yeah. And as far as so this is department-wide. This is since the program was started. But these are the folks who are the actual interpreters. It's a much longer certification process. And then these are the folks who are certified to speak one-on-one. In the second precinct, we have 30 assigned, and that breaks down. I've got 7 authorized interpreters between patrol, COPE, and the detective squad. And then we have 23 bilingual officers, again broken down between patrol, which has the vast majority, 20, COPE, and the detective squad. So 30 out of this combined number. That's pretty much what I have on the stats. Again, when you come to the landing page, which I've lost now.
All the way to the left.
All the way to the left.
Can you?
Yeah. You can, if you're interested in the language access plan, it's here, multiple languages. I believe we don't have the latest version up. Yeah. It's the same content. It's just we've changed our rules and procedures provider, so it's going to look different. It has the same content in it, but that's the different languages. And then there's a quick overview which kind of summarizes it. I think it's about 14 pages long. So this is a nice one-page summary of pretty much the nuts and bolts of what's in there.
Quick question, sir. So in looking at the numbers of like calls and then assistance provided, I see that, so there's 1,347 calls and assistance has been provided 683. Can you give us some context with how does the precinct, I think as a community member, I'm most interested in ensuring that everybody who requires the assistance is getting the assistance, right? So can you give us some context in whether that 683, is that a significant number relative to the total number of calls? And how does the department and the precinct particularly know that they're capturing them, at least in this process, the majority of calls that are the majority of folks who would really require the services?
Well, I mean, chiefly through that mechanism I mentioned before, where an officer is unable to close the call out without answering the language question. So it's a forced choice thing for the officer. So that gives us some confidence that we're not in a situation where the officers are just simply going to fail to report whether they're doing it or not doing it. So that's one. But the inspector brought up the audits, which we don't have up on the dashboard yet, which we will because they weren't part of the static reports. Which before I forget, I'm going to go to it quickly.
And when you're talking about the audits, you're talking about the body worn camera audit?
Well, I wasn't, but yes, that's an important element to it now. Now that we have the body worn cameras, we're specifically going to use that to audit language. Just like I said, the random review was designated as domestic violence this month. So we're gonna do the same thing on a departmental level, but based upon L codes. And I mean, I've personally done that. I've been very involved in the body camera program, and I've seen several hundred of the L code videos and how the officers are handling them. So, yeah, that's one element, and Internal Affairs, of course, is doing that because they also do the quality control audits where they do it at the precinct level, you know, as well, what they call the precincts. And then they also call the complainants. They'll source a bunch of L calls that were not given language assistance, and then the Internal Affairs investigator will reach out to that complainant and ask them, you know, did you need it? Did you not get it? You know, did everything go okay with the call? So it's kind of a 3-tier approach to doing that. And what we found, the inspector mentioned that there was some non-compliance. I believe from 2022, there might have been 2 discipline cases for non-compliance. But what we found is that the overwhelming majority of cases, officers are just simply filling out the form wrong. When they don't give assistance, they're doing it correctly, but they're not reporting it correctly. So if we go to the Transparency Hub, and at the very bottom, here's the hub. At the very bottom, we have all these compliance reports. There's another link to this as well. But this is basically a chronological list of all of our compliance reports beginning in July of 2014, going through the end of 22. And then also, those were authored by the department, and then these are authored by the DOJ in response to that. Basically answering our report and then also offering suggestions on how to go forward. Some of this stuff is historical, and again, it's been replaced by the dashboards. And then here we have our 2 outside analyses of traffic stops for those years. We have our request for proposals out for a new provider to do our next traffic analysis. They went out a couple months ago, so we should have an idea as to who's going to be doing that pretty soon.
Excellent.
Thank you. And as I said, I'll leave this in the back for anyone who's interested in
Thank
this.
you.
That was great. Just definitely get into depth on that. What I can tell you from the precinct standpoint is that we do review the camera footage, and that helps us with these language calls. You can see right away if there's a battery there, and you can watch the officer dial right up on his tablet to either get the interpreter. But again, like he said, we're very fortunate in the second because we have quite a few bilingual officers. So most of the time we go that way if we can. I prefer that myself because it's a little more personal. But if we can't, we do it through the tablet. But I see plenty of compliance when I watch these videos, so the officers are doing a good job with this. Okay?
How many officers do we have right now in the second?
Bilingual?
No, total.
I think it's 160.
Wow, that's so
like that.
low.
Yeah. I think we're only down a handful, not too bad. That's police officers, that's not the whole thing, so.
And do you have a number for approximately bilingual?
30.
I think you said
30.
30, yeah. So, and they're all spread out, which is good. We try to put them in different squads, so we have that coverage. It's important, I think it's important. So, okay, move on. And then, there's a question of this implicit bias training. This came up through the PLAB. And basically, this is a course that everybody in the department is going to be taking. I know right now that I believe all supervisors have gone through this course. I went through it personally myself. It was a very interesting course. We had outside people from the community in the class with the chiefs, myself, most of the high-ranking officials. It was a nice mix of people. You get to see different perceptions from different, demographic of people. But yeah, this is gonna be required for everybody to take. I know everybody is scheduled for this. Implicit bias, we all have it apparently. It's something that as we grow, we have these thoughts inside our head that is either from our environment or upbringing and this and that. And that's how it was explained to me. And they give you some scenarios, and you do workshops with everybody. And so you get to see sometimes your perception is much different than someone who may not kind of look like you. So I thought this training was great, and I know that everybody's going to be going through it. One of the examples was Susan Boyle. I don't know if anyone knows who Susan Boyle was, but she was on the America's Got Talent show, and she got up to sing. And I think Simon said when he first saw her, because when you look at her, she doesn't look like she's going to be this great singer, and she got up there and just was like an opera singer or something. He actually made a comment that he goes, I gotta be honest, when I first saw you, I wasn't expecting to hear that come out of your mouth, and that kind of gives you an idea of how you have these preconceived notions in your mind. So class was great. Everybody's going through it. I enjoyed it. It was nice with a different mix of people. It wasn't just all cops in that class. So I thought that was a great class.
Is there a set deadline as to when everyone will be trained, or is that still being hashed out?
I think everybody's scheduled right now. I talked to the woman who does the training in our precinct, and everybody is scheduled right now. So I don't know when the deadline is for everybody to go through, but I know everybody's scheduled right now.
So can I also add, Inspector?
Yeah.
So with regards to that, the department will never reach 100% compliance with implicit bias training, just by the very nature of these. There are often officers retiring and then officers coming in, so we will never get 100% completion. Our aim is to get at least 80 and above.
Thank you. Thanks, Phil. I think I covered most of the questions. I'll throw up some crime stats for the precinct in case anyone's interested. This is year-to-date from 23 to 24. You take a good look at that. I'll go over it. We haven't had any homicides this year. That's a good thing. Just one last year, 3 robberies. Robberies are up a little bit. That's a concern I have. Assaults, just 14 to 15, very slight decrease. Residential burglaries are down. Commercial burglaries are down quite a bit. That's good. Larcenies are down. That's also very good. And vehicle thefts are down right now. So this is just year to date from January to now for the rest of the years. And then another concern that I thought you might be interested in is our gang arrests. Okay, so comparing last year to this year, basically had the same number of arrests, different amount of charges. You can look there. What gang members were arrested. In 23, it was Bloods, MS-13, OSS, Old Station Soldiers, I believe, Latin King, and Crip. And then in 24, a little more with the MS-13 and 3 Bloods, 2 OSS again, SSP, Southside Posse, I think, and Crip. And then this is a new gang. You might have heard of this gang. This is the one from Venezuela. The first precinct, we were the first precinct to arrest somebody from this gang. So I don't know how to pronounce it, Trendiagua, okay? Can you help me out with that? Trendiagua, okay. So anyway, they're from Venezuela, and these I think are the guys that beat up the cop, as we saw the video in New York City. Apparently dangerous people. We happen to have them here, so what I can talk about is our gang unit in the 2nd precinct is unbelievable. They actually made this arrest, and they've been monitoring the gang activity in the precinct, and it's a big concern they have, and they've been doing a heck of a job out there. So I got to give them the credit. The sergeant who runs that unit and all the officers in there are very motivated. So I'm keeping a close eye on this. It's very important. Go ahead.
Just curiosity, because they've been all over the news. Is the department in talks with NYPD at all? They're trying to with that Venezuelan gang, because they're all over the city. So I don't know if they're just trying to come out here to lay low or, you know.
I'm not really sure, Kenny, but I can imagine that our criminal intelligence unit probably, you know, they probably converse amongst them in Nassau County.
Okay.
For those of you who wanna come to the community meeting, which is, this Wednesday coming up, we're gonna have a gang officer there from, criminal intelligence, and he's gonna do a presentation on, gangs. And, I would recommend that if you're interested or would like to know about gang activity in the precinct, that you come on down. And I saw the presentation, and the guy does a great job, so that'd be nice if you wanna come to see that.
So based on this, it's frightening to say that in the short amount of this year, which has only been 3.5 months, we've almost doubled the issues we had in the entirety of last year.
So charge-wise, I would say, yeah, we have more charges, but body-wise, the rest itself is not, so sometimes they charge multiple charges on each person. So we'll see where it goes this year, we're gonna see, I'll monitor it through the year. I have my concerns, we've had MS-13, we've had assaults, I see a slight uptick there, and, again, it's a concern of mine, and I meet with the gang sergeant regularly, so it keeps me updated.
Can I just clarify, is that all 2023 or the same time period?
This is right now, this is year to date, so, no, that's the same
All
time frame
2020.
last year.
So
It's not
just
all
3
23.
months to 3
It's only
months.
3 months to 3 months comparison.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right,
It-
thank
You know,
you.
I could've gave you that number, but then it does, you know.
No, I just wasn't sure if it was the whole year and
No,
then,
it's
okay,
the
3
first
months,
3 months.
comparable time.
First 3 months, first 3 months, so.
Okay, got it, thank you.
Just comparing the same time.
No, that, yeah, thanks.
So, not a crazy increase, but I do see, activity with the MS-13, that concerns me.
I had a question real quick.
Sure.
Over like the span of, because these are like 2023, 2024, but what does the trend look like over the past 10 years? Is it increasing, decreasing? And then what is it relation to, this is, I'm sorry, I can't remember, is this just for Huntington or for all of it? Oh, this is for the
This
second-
is just for the second precinct,
Oh, and then,
and I've only been here a year, so
Okay.
I can't go back 10 years to see. I can tell you within the time that I've been here, I've seen increased activity with the MS-13 and the recruiting and assaults that have happened. Those are the ones that are standing out right now. I haven't seen as much activity from the other gangs. Pretty much I'm gonna wrap it up. We have some upcoming precinct events that if anybody would want to, if anyone wants to go to. So I'll move on to, what do we got? We got Cup with a Cop. So this is at the Elijah Farm on Foxhurst Road in Huntington Station on Wednesday, April 3rd, 12 to 2. Come on down. You're gonna join us and the sheriff's officers for coffee, hot chocolate, and conversation. And I can't encourage the public to come down enough because my COPE officers do a great job of setting these things up and getting these people to kind of supply everything. Unfortunately, attendance is always not as great as I'd like it to be. So, I mean, we don't get to converse just one-on-one here a lot. You'll have questions, I'll answer. But if you could, if you could find some time to come down, it's a nice time. I'll be there myself to answer questions. Command staff's there, so if you have the time, come on down. What's that? So, okay, yeah, Alyssa's telling me that they have a facility for special needs people if they wanna bring, if anyone has a special needs kids or whatever. Okay. Easter egg hunt is coming up. You had a pre-register for this. I don't know if there's still time. This is Saturday, the 30th at Elwood Park. They do it by ages. 12 o'clock, okay, I'm sorry. Oh, starts at 12, but I know they do different age groups, so if you wanna come on down and have the little ones do the egg hunt, by all means. Operation Medicine Cabinet, there's a bunch of different dates. We actually have a mailbox in the lobby of the precinct for this, but this is good if you have old medicine that you're trying to get rid of. They don't want you to just throw it in the garbage. You bring it down here and we'll get rid of it for you. Okay? Okay, so there's different locations, different times. I'm not gonna go over them all, but it looks like it's spread out pretty much through the precinct. So if you see one that you might wanna drop off your meds, by all means. And, Project Prom, okay, this, you can donate old suits and old prom dresses, up until, I guess we're doing this on the 4th, is when they're gonna be able to hand everything out. And you have till, the 28th, which is, what, tomorrow? So if you have any old, clothes that you'd like to donate for people that maybe can't afford to buy a prom dress or a suit, please donate. And then, again, the meeting, the community meeting is, Wednesday, April 3rd at 7 p.m. at the, South Huntington Library. And we will be having that presentation with the gang officers, so it'll be very interesting. You won't have to listen to me babble for the whole couple of hours. I encourage you to come down. Okay. Question for the.
PLAB, do we have any questions for the inspector about the presentation? Go ahead, David.
So it's
Good
not
job,
about
thank you.
presentation, but a question just generally. Do you make available precinct ride-alongs to the PLAB members?
He had a great time.
That's a good, okay, so you did it.
No, he didn't.
I would say we could probably do that. We have a waiver that if any of you really wanna do the ride along.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
So,
Definitely.
you know, yeah, I would encourage you to contact the captain on this one.
Captain
Reach,
McKeon?
reach out to Captain McKeon and he could set these things up. I know some of the PLAB members are in the civilian academy now, and I know it's been suggested to do that, course. Everybody who's done it, Kenny knows, it's a phenomenal course, and I would recommend that to, anybody. You really kinda get to see what we do on a regular basis, and, make you a little bit more appreciation of how difficult the job really is. Yes, Jim?
I took the academy years ago, when there was a lot of friction in those days between the police department and what was going on in the community at the time. And that's, like I say, it was very enlightening. I think anybody that's on this PLAB committee should go to it, because it will help them understand what your job is about. And those days, I'll be honest with you, I was head to head with you. There was a lot of problems between us. And I'll tell you right now, there was a lot of things came out where there made me more understanding in the situation that you were in. So I would suggest anybody that can go to that, should go to that, because you really can't understand their job without going there.
Thank you.
In that class.
I can tell you all the feedback I've gotten on that has been positive, and everybody says the same thing, oh, I wish I would've done it sooner or whatever.
Well, I think.
So if you have the time and you can do it, do it, it's great.
I have
Yes, yes.
one last question, and I didn't ask this during the traffic, this part, but I should have asked it when you were sharing the traffic dashboard. Can you talk about the process that, the supervisors, patrol sergeants, patrol lieutenants, that they engage with the, officers individually, to review traffic data, any irregularities with traffic data, et cetera?
So they used to do a quarterly report. I think it's, we're still doing the quarterly report. We had a quarter, you still getting that?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so the captain gets a quarterly report on all our traffic data, stats. And, for those officers that aren't in compliance for whatever reason, maybe they haven't finished filling it out, because there's like a drop down and they have to fill it out and they have to submit it. They do an audit on it, and anything that's incomplete, the captain will give it to the lieutenant, who will in turn speak to the officer and make sure that they fill out everything completely, and so they have all the information based on the traffic stop. Usually there's some incomplete ones here and there, because you can imagine when you're out there handling calls and then you do a car stop, and there's a lot of information that you have to fill out besides the summons that, and if you get called to another emergency, you run, and then they get back to it and they didn't finish it. So sometimes we get the report of the unfinished ones, and to make sure we're in compliance, the supervisors follow up with each officer. Most officers are pretty good, there's maybe have one or two that they didn't finish for the month, there's not usually big numbers, but that's how they kind of keep it in compliance.
And so I apologize for my ignorance. I probably learned this in the civilian part, which hopefully I participate one day.
Good.
Yeah, I really want. When the quarterly report, what does that entail? Is that like them going through the numbers of how many stops they've had? What's like the race of the folks who have been stopped?
Every supervisor can look at any officer and see how many stops he's made in a month, if there's a question of anything. And, you know, some do more than others. It's just the way, you know, some are more motivated than others. But yeah, they can review it, they can review their body cam footage. I would say that all our stops, you know, are reviewed almost, you know, on a weekly basis. Because, you know, I look at the stops, because I know there's a big interaction with the public, and I prefer to look at more traffic stops than domestic calls or whatever, but yeah. Anything else? Anybody else? Any questions? No? Yes, ma'am?
Hi, yeah, I'm a Huntington resident, and I don't know if this is a county level question, but I was wondering if you know, any update on the reform activity about having mental health professionals accompany police on people experiencing a mental health crisis, and if that's been able to be scaled up.
So mental health calls, we do a lot of those. It seems like there's been an increase. We have other resources. We have a crisis team that can come to the scene if we need them to respond. And then we also have DASH, which is, it's like, it's not as, I guess it's not as serious as actually committing somebody, but they have mental health officials there that they can meet with and converse, and they can figure out if there's a problem. Most of the time, if we go to a call and the person's a danger to himself or others, we're gonna take them right to Stony Brook Hospital, which is CPEC, and they have a psychiatric unit there, and that's kind of how we do it. They do have a behavioral unit now that has a few officers in it, and they review a lot of these calls. And if we get like someone who calls constantly, you know, maybe he's called 10 times in a month, they'll reach out to that person to see if there's a way they can get him some kind of assistance for his mental health issues.
And is the determination made by the 911 dispatcher, or when the call first comes in, or?
Well, I guess the call would come in as, you know, someone's acting irrational or something like that, and then we'd be dispatched that way. You know, it depends how the 911 operator takes the call, but if it's a mental health call, it'll be dispatched as such, and then the officers we usually go with more than one to calls like that, and there's different ways to disposition that call.
Thank you.
Yeah, go ahead.
I live in East Northport, and there was, I live near Alan Weber.
Wait, hold on please, I'm sorry, 1 second. We were gonna do a quick transition from the PLAB questions to the community questions, because I have to make an announcement for the community about the recording. Is PLAB done asking their questions? Yeah. Okay, if we're good, Tyler, can you raise the screen? And PLAB can return to the stage, and then I'm gonna take community questions in a minute. I'm gonna have actually my assistant. All right, I just want to remind all of the members of the community that are coming and planning to ask questions. We encourage them wholeheartedly. Actually, Kevin is supposed to read this. Kevin? All right. We're figuring it out. Walter, no.
Raise your hand if,
Hello. Raise your hand and wait for the microphone to be brought to you. Reminder, this meeting is being recorded. Do not share any private information. Use the index card that they give you before. And write the question, issues, idea to submit to the club or the Suffolk County Police Department. Then please give the index card to and pen to Tyler.
Yeah, so the index cards are going to go to Tyler in the plaid shirt if you have to leave early. And then if you want to use the microphone and ask a question, you raise your hand and Alyssa will bring you the microphone.
And officer are available on the back. And we had the room until 8:30. If you have any question.
So, yeah, if anybody has anything specific to your community you want to discuss with the officers, you can talk to them at the back.
Okay, hello. At the beginning of this program, you said you've been very active and gotten a lot done as PLAB. So what has PLAB done so far that has changed the culture of the police department, changed laws, changed anything?
Yeah. No, it's okay, sorry. I gave my microphone to them. Actually, I didn't mean that the PLAB has done tons of work, because we only started meeting the end of January. What I meant was the second precinct community, yourself included, that has been a very active part. The residents, the neighbors, we've all worked together to advocate with our police for an improvement in services, a better relationship between the community and police, specific issues that have been repeatedly plaguing our area that were ignored with prior administrations of various, name it, county, state, town, didn't matter. As you know, we've come as a community, we've come together and have been able to make these changes. That really is the purpose of PLAB. So we've kind of, as a second precinct, have already done it among ourselves as neighbors. So what I'm saying is that the definition of PLAB, it can work to do really transformative things throughout Suffolk County and other communities. So that's not yet, we just started. So this was our very first quarterly meeting. Did you learn something new today? Nothing? You knew all about the Transparency Hub already?
I guess I could find it.
Okay, so that's the answer.
And just a story to share in regard to that. A few months ago, as just to kind of affirm the community work that everyone here has been doing. A few months ago, someone came to my church and said, "Hey, I had a real big problem with this officer. There was a situation that happened, and so I came into the second precinct a little bit guns blazing, and they were very, very open and transparent with us, and even allowed me to see some body cam footage. And in that body cam footage, we found that this person not only did the right thing, in the middle of using the language line access, in the middle of dealing with a car accident, stopped. There was a cardiac arrest that would happen in the middle of it, ran, helped save someone's life, came back, went back to it, and that all happened because of good policing. We know that that's not always the case, but in this instance, we were able to address the community issue, address the perception, bring up the reality, and then build a better bridge. And so that's why I know a lot of people on this team have been doing it for a long time, and I wanted to make sure, one of my first comments was to address that, make sure that that's known, that happened, and it was a really, really good thing. And it actually built a bridge between a community member who had a different type of perception. And so those are the type of work that I pray that we continue to do here all together.
Is this on?
Yes.
Okay. So I live in East Northport, and one of my neighbors was killed by the police in October. They came to his home because he was having a mental health crisis. And I believe that the neighbors had called numerous times to talk about the fact that, he was acting erratically in the neighborhood, etc. And what I want to know is what interventions there were, knowing that this man was having mental health issues for a while. And is there a protocol when the police come to someone's home knowing that they are mentally ill? I do know he was living alone. And another question I have is, were any of his relatives reached out to And how often do officers use interventions when responding to mental health calls?
You want to talk about the protocol? Yeah.
Yeah, kind of what I said before about how we handle these mental health calls is basically the mental hygiene law allows us to take somebody to the hospital if they're a danger to themselves or others. So the officers have to determine that at the scene. And if they're not, again, a threat, like a physical threat or a danger to themselves, whether they're saying they're going to commit suicide, for the most part, we're not going to take them. I would like to reserve comment on that particular case because there was a death involved and I do not know if there's litigation involved. What I can tell you is that I reviewed a lot of the body cam footage and I felt that my officers handled the situation appropriately. And I'll have to leave it at that for now, if that's okay. The resources are there. I told you, Dash, we have a crisis team that can come, but it usually has to involve that particular scenario of somebody threatening your life or his own life, that kind of thing.
Hi. There was also a few years ago, about three weeks or 4 weeks after George Floyd was killed, someone was killed by the police in East Northport, who was a 25-year-old young man. And I'm just wondering, according to the reform plan, we're supposed to have de-escalation training. What kind of de-escalation training have the officers have, or do they need in order to, when you come out, how do you handle that? It's not easy, but it seems to be a problem not only here but all around the country about how to handle mental health crisis and how to understand it, and it seems to be a problem.
So, yeah, I believe that if the officers, don't feel that they have enough knowledge or that they can call out the crisis team and they will come and they will help us with the interaction with that particular individual.
But how about de-escalation training? Is there de-escalation training for the officers?
I believe every officer, when they go through the academy, does mental health training. So if you want to call that de-escalation, I would say yes.
But maybe Chris Love can answer this question. I don't know, but I think the reform plan talked about doing de-escalation training all over the county.
Yeah, I don't have any numbers with me. I was actually involved in the crisis intervention training starting back in 2021. I can't guess as to how many officers, but we would basically do about a squad at a time. And I personally did about probably 20 or 30 of them. So we have a good number of officers who've gone through CIT training, and it's still of course at the academy, but I don't have any hard numbers. It's a DCJS curriculum. That's a 3-day. It's an 8-hour course, and it involves bringing in the folks from DASH and Director of Community Services and that whole mental hygiene, universe of folks.
Can I just make a total side note? I'd just like to recognize Walter Edwards, the Deputy Director of Town of Huntington Parks Department, coming tonight. Appreciate you. And also, I got notification the Supervisor Ed Smith does give his regard. Oh, you hear that? Okay. All right. So I guess you. Okay.
Just as a follow-up, because I know anytime a community member is killed, that's a horrible thing for the community. It's a horrible. No police officer is getting up in the morning wanting to be involved in that kind of interaction. So I know everyone is mourning that. I work with a group that's been involved back in the reform and intervention plan around mental health intervention, and the behavioral health unit now exists. I'm wondering, as you're kind of saying how it's playing out day to day. Do officers, is it kind of at their own discretion reaching out to the behavioral health unit or reaching out to DASH, or is there a protocol if a call comes in like this is how you would handle it? Just kind of wondering how it's being developed thus far as you continue to develop the program.
Right, so like I said, we don't forcibly remove people, unless what I said before. danger to themselves or others.
No, the officers, do the officers reach out to the behavioral health units or use telehealth programs?
The crisis team from Stony Brook can respond to the location if they feel they need to use them. So yes, that's the answer, yes.
Okay,
Can I also add, Inspector, just for clarity, the behavioral health unit is available for presentation. I think it's an opportunity for us to, have ongoing discussion about how and what that looks like on an ongoing basis. We can provide the behavioral health here at the next meeting. So if you wish to get some of the numbers and the statistics on how that program is enacted. In addition to that, every call that comes to the department is screened by a 911 call taker. Our 911 call taker have been trained to identify, as best as possible, a mental health issue. Once that is identified, they dispatch it to the behavioral health section. The behavioral health section is notified. Behavioral health section partners up with DASH, and they help to triage that particular call.
And do we know if that happened in the case of Alan Weber?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know that answer.
I got you.
So this is a very important topic, and we had been approached about mental health and the handlings between police officers and calls that are made. We have taken it upon ourselves that this is our goal for our next presentation, our next PLAB presentation, to address these issues, to get more thorough information so that we can relate that to the public and come to a better understanding of what transpires when these calls are made, what services are offered, and maybe how we can address and help on making that a little bit better so that we don't have such a terrible outcome like we did last time. So we just, I'm speaking for all of us, we really have a deep want into looking into this and following through with this goal.
Beautiful, thank you so much.
Okay.
Sorry.
Yep, turn yours on. Yeah, it is on.
Oh, all right. I guess I am wondering, and since Felix is here, and we have representatives from the second precinct and from the SCPD overall, what is the level of openness? Because it sounds like the community is concerned about the mental health, and to be fully honest, I'm not hearing someone state there's a firm protocol around what to do with this. And so what is the level of openness for the PLAB even to come together, hearing these concerns, and make recommendations to the precinct, to the department in general, and saying like, these are some concerns from the community, how are you able to adjust some of your procedures in order to meet the needs of the concerns? And I think this is overall, this is the topic, but in general, this is the point of this body. So I would like to hear from the inspector, but also from the department at large, are we able to put forward recommendations that can at least be heard?
Yeah, so if I can just add real quickly to that comment. So the department, as you all know, along with the county, has just experienced a major transition in leadership. Currently, we do not have a sitting commissioner, we do have an acting commissioner. And this acting commissioner has made it known, at least to me, that he's open to reconstituting a lot of the relationship that was lost in the prior administration with regards to some of the openness that we were working towards. So I'm gonna answer that question in two ways. Number one, PLAB members do have the opportunity to ask questions with regards to behavioral health, potentially make recommendation. That recommendation will be heard. You're actually supposed to be developing your relationship with the inspector, have an organic relationship, a symbiotic relationship, and that's where it starts, number one. And then number two, on a countywide level, like I mentioned, the current leadership is open to reconstituting these more broad level discussions with a lot of advocacy groups that we have here in the building, and as well as countywide to talk about these big topics and how the department is planning to handle it, has been handling it, implementing it,
and what are the current policy and protocols in place.
And
I
as a
think
fun-
as a group, that we should wait till we hear from the people that are involved with this mental health issue before we start making suggestions, so we know their procedures to see. I mean, right now, I don't think as a group we know what they do. And I think we should listen to them first and then make our suggestions to them. I don't know how they act, so how can I make a suggestion to somebody that I don't know? And I think Karina said the next quarterly meeting, let's have this group of people that deal with mental health issues in the county come in, explain how they work, and then we can go on. But to sit here now and to talk about something we know nothing about and how they handle things isn't right. And how are we gonna suggest something to these people when we don't even know what they do? So I think.
I did
is
have a
that possible to
conversation
get them next
with
time?
June.
Yeah.
Yes, we had this conversation
Okay.
already, because this topic had come up, and, we agreed that we're gonna try and get the unit here for the next meeting, so
I think
let's go with that, because they're really the experts in the field of this, and they deal with this on a daily basis, so I think they would be able to answer your
Yeah.
questions.
And they could have a 45-minute
Yeah,
presentation.
absolutely. I wasn't trying to,
Yeah.
I wasn't trying to say that we should tonight or tomorrow or anything make suggestions or recommendations, not by any means. I was just simply saying, is there an openness and what level where is that openness? And even still in the second precinct inspector, because we are not the PLAB of the SCPD, we are the PLAB of the second precinct. Can you talk a little bit, is there leeway for individual precincts to create protocols for their specific officers, even if it doesn't exist across other precincts? Do you have that autonomy or that ability, or is that not necessary? And I'm ignorant of this, so
That sounds like a policy, situation, and the department makes policy for the whole department, so I don't think I would have leeway. I think Phyllis would agree with me, that it would have to come down from headquarters if we were gonna change any of these procedures. And just so you know, I did speak with one of the officers from the behavioral unit today, and they were more than willing to come here. I reached out because I knew this topic was gonna come up, so we put it off for the next one, but I don't think that there's gonna be, I'm not gonna be able to make any policy of mine.
Unless it's
comes down from the top. They'll agree with me.
So-
that's very informative.
So can I also clarify, so the inspectors at all of the 7 precincts do have discretion on how policing is performed in their command. From a policy standpoint, however, policy is created at headquarters. So the inspector is correct with regards to policy. However, the inspector does have the discretion, because at the end of the day, the inspectors at all the precincts, they interact on an ongoing basis, day to day, with their police officers.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have a question, I don't know who to ask it to, but I'd like all of you to look into it. It's about police training. Do you know anything about a program called Street Cops, a training program? In 2021, they held a conference in Atlantic City. Officers from 46 states went. Taxpayers paid for them to go. New York sent people. I don't know if people from the SCPD went. I'd love you to find out. The training is a militaristic style of policing. It taught unconstitutional policing tactics, which glorified violence while simultaneously denigrating women, minorities, and people with disabilities. Instructors used over 100 discriminatory and disparaging terms such as monkey, retard, whore, and midget. And one instructor mocked the guy using the F word throughout, who was recording during a traffic stop saying he should get pepper sprayed, tased, have his windows broken out. This training is going to be held again on April 28th in Florida. Again, taxpayers will pay for people to go. Most concerning, and this is really something I need you to look into, on June 13th, there's going to be a Stop Cops training in Smithtown. I guess what I'm asking is, do we pay for this? Are we paying to send officers? And if not, because you certainly can't stop officers from going on their own to a training like this, can you stop them from this? Because
from your presentations before and everything you had to say, you're really trying to do a wonderful job. And this looks like it will undermine every single thing you're trying to do.
Yeah, I would not recommend, what's the name of it?
It's called Stop Cops.
Yeah, I haven't heard of any of my officers, I'm sorry.
Yeah, so street cop.
I mean street cops.
Yes.
Yeah. But it's gonna be in Smithtown in June.
Okay, so just from what I've heard about that, the AG is already putting in a compliance on them in New York because of a lot of racist and not so nice things that's been said at these conferences. I saw it on the news, and the AG is investigating that. The AG doesn't want them in New York. So I'm just telling you some point of reference.
No, is there any way though that if an officer of their money from their own pocket and wanted to go, is there any way you could keep your officers from attending?
Listen, I wouldn't recommend it, but I guess if they were gonna pay out of pocket, unless the department came out and said they didn't want them to attend this training.
Could they do that?
So Lynn, I'll answer that question. So, without doing my research, I am pretty confident to say that SCPD was not a part of that training. However, I will do my due diligence and report back to you with regards to whether or not we participated as a department in that training. The one thing that we cannot do is limit American citizens from participating in whatever activity they decide they want to participate in. As long as they're not representing the department, average citizen can do and attend anything that they want to attend.
Can you write your name and email address on one of those index cards so we can get back to you when Felix gives us the answer to your question?
Sure.
And just write, street cops.
Street cops.
Yeah. And then, Tyler will get it on your way out. Okay. Thank you.
I appreciate it, thank you.
So, I wanna say thank you to the inspector and the police officers for for making PLAB happen in Huntington. It's great to see people in the community come out that's just like us at the bodega, at the store, on the panel, talking and have community address us. So I like that. I like to thank all the cops for being here. You know, they could be anywhere in Huntington, but they're here helping and making sure we have Huntington the best. So thank you for the inspector, the sergeants, everybody, the police officers in the back. Thank you. You guys are the best. And thank you to PLAB and the community for coming. So just saying thank you. All right?
Thank you.
Alan Robert, Greenlawn, Newark. Just I have a question first, and then I guess depending on the answer, I have a second question. The first one is, I'm ignorant of this, I just started to come to these. Does the precinct have like criminologists or sociologists or even ethicists, people specifically hired in the social science space who study crime at the expert level at its facilities? Like, do you guys have something like that?
Yeah.
I'm not like specifically like for example, like a criminologist, somebody who studies crime. Do you guys have anybody in your office?
So I can answer that broadly speaking. So on average, SCPD officers that come on the job pretty much hold a bachelor's degree and beyond. A lot of the officers that are on the job hold some are MDs and some are attorneys. So there's a large amount of individuals that are specialized that work in the department. With regards to that question specifically, we do have those individuals at headquarters who are in specialized services. I'm not necessarily sure if that answers your question with regards to the precinct specific request with regards to if there's a specialized unit in there. I can get back to you with that answer.
So there's not a, like I know there's like cops have a variety of like political science degrees, stuff like that, but I guess across Suffolk County, there's no criminologist who's hired, right? You don't have like a criminologist title who's hired.
I couldn't accurately answer that, I
mean, like as a
don't know the
position?
answer.
Yeah, like
as a standing position?
Yeah, as a
in the
standing
department?
position.
Like, we are looking for a
criminologist, or we're looking for an anthropologist or sociologist. Okay, so I guess the answer's kind of no. I kind of knew that already, but or at least was it. I think my second point I was gonna say is that obviously, you know, the past couple of years, George Floyd, X, Y, and Z. One of the big things, if you take out the process, is data, right? Data. You know, if you saw the Michael Brown things, every time you're online, FBI data, black on black crime, you know, police brutality, data's always thrown around. And we have professional experts in fields who study how to use data, how to count the data, how data should be interpreted, things like that. You know, I think for some, you know, and I asked the question about the gang thing, is, you know, unfortunately, things become politicized. When they become politicized, it's harder for us to solve the problems. Because the data gets interpreted a certain kind of way, which makes everybody's life miserable. I think something that I'd like to see is, I think this really to you, PLAB, because I'm just a little person, is that you guys start thinking about maybe, instead of the really big things, let's just have like somebody who's specialized, trained, not as an officer, who studies data, collects data at an expert level. I don't know if you did that already, that's kind of what I was talking about, but criminologists are people who study crime. Crime data is a certain kind of data. It's not the same thing as economic data, obviously, right? So I think it would be nice if we had somebody here stationed at our police department or whatever it's called, who, you know, is involved in collecting and then that person will come here and they would be expressing us as data and the methodology that was followed, something like that. I don't know. Maybe it doesn't have to get started now, but it'd be cool to see something like that. Or and even an ethicist, that'd be nice too. Anyways.
It's like there's a whole data independent, right? That's
Yeah,
what you're doing an RFP
so
for.
that answer can be answered in several different ways. So, you know, at the base level, we do have a criminal intel section that deals with a tremendous amount of data, and we do reporting on a consistent basis. In addition to a broad level, so like part of the DOJ consent decree requires that we look at traffic stop data through multi-tiered lens, one of which is to have hired an outside agency to analyze our traffic stop and then provide us their recommendation with regards to what they find. So there's a host of different ways to answer that particular question, but with regards to a dedicated team at the precinct level, I don't necessarily think we have the capacity financially to be able to implement what you're requesting, but at the headquarter level, we do have criminal intel team.
I think he missed the whole thing with the transparency hub. Did you see that presentation with all the statistics? I think that's what we're doing.
But again, I understand we have data. Criminology is a specific field though. I understand we have people with data scientists, but it's a social science, right? It's not just, you know what I mean, it's a little different. But anyway, thank you.
No, I understand the question. Thank you. That was very good. That was good. Okay, thank you guys for coming. Thank you, ladies.
Just one thing, answer your question, and it might go to the PLAB's question later on. We do have a criminologist, we have crime analysis up in headquarters. They are responsible for certain precincts, first, second, third, fourth, fifth. Every day we'll get crime statistics come down. Where are the crimes being committed? When are they being committed? How are they being committed? We're driven by crime and problem analysis, and I'm sure a question's gonna be brought up. Why are more tickets being given in this part of the community than that part of the community? Why are we targeting this group as opposed to that? We react to what the crime analysis are telling us. Where are the crimes being committed? At what times? So we're driven by crime and problem analysis. We'll look at that and we deploy our services to where the data that you're talking about. Yeah, between 11 o'clock and 3 o'clock on Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday, up in this part of the area, that's where the crimes are being committed. That's when the bars are let out. That's where the gangs are happening. That's when we'll deploy our services. So in future reference, why is this segment, or why is this area getting over-policed, is by we're working on the data that we get. We just don't guess it. We look at what comes
It's called crime analysis, what is it called?
Criminal analysis, the crime,
Through the criminal intelligence unit.
Oh, criminal intelligence.
and we get it every day. So that's how we direct the officers.
And each precinct has one?
Yes.
Yes. So that's the answer. That's right. That's a great question.
I have another question.
Sure.
Actually two. With the police reform plan, there was a move to do more community policing, which is the opposite of what Lynn just described. And I think it said that police officers would go get out of their car and walk around on a regular basis and meet the community. And so part one of my question is that happening, when, where, and how often? And the other part of the question is, in the reform plan, it also says that officers should give a business card when they do a traffic stop, so that the person who stopped knows, they didn't call it a business card, but some sort of identification that they get on paper. They know who is stopping them, and then they would discuss why and what happened. I wonder if that's being implemented too.
So, yeah, the program you're talking about, when the officers get out of the car, is walk, walk, and talk. And we monitor that on a daily basis. I get a report every morning of how many occurred the day before. And I can tell you that we're probably the highest in the whole county with compliance on that. So our officers are out there when they log it into the computer, and they keep statistics on that. So yes, the answer to that is yes.
And do they do it randomly, or where do they go, or just on their, in certain?
Basically, we try to do it where the public, there's a lot of people, so they do shopping centers. Sometimes we do it at the temples and, the mosques if we have special attention to certain areas. But usually downtown and, anywhere that, there's a lot of stores and that, they're supposed to get out there and converse with the community. And we've been doing a lot of that. So.
How frequently?
So-
Is it like 1 hour per shift for 8 hours? I forget what it was.
So yeah, at least I think it's once or twice a shift for an officer.
For
So,
one
yeah,
officer
yeah.
on patrol.
Yeah.
So every sector, once to twice a shift, they're getting out and doing that for how long? For like 15 minutes or an hour?
I think they lessened the time a little bit, but yes.
Wow,
yeah.
that's a lot more
It's not an
frequency than
hour,
it was
it's
a little
not an
while
hour,
ago.
Yeah. Again, our numbers are great. and
Yeah,
so-
So personally, I want to say I witnessed that. The 4 officers back here, 6, I see them all the time. I personally got to meet them and have a good relationship with them because I see them everywhere. Everywhere I am, they're there.
Because they're watching you. Sorry, Will. I love you, Will. I love you.
How do we kick them off the board? That was crazy. I want to say yes, I agree. I understand that, and I witness them in the field all the time. Like actually walking, I go, wow, they're really out in the streets more than they should be, but they're everywhere. So I want to just say yes, I see them everywhere.
Excellent. And then part 2 was business card of her question.
Yeah.
Giving up
So, yeah, I can answer the business card question, because that's a little outside of the precinct purview. It's currently being litigated with Latino Justice Settlement Agreement, so we'll provide you a response to that. I'll venture to say by June. But I can say this, all officers do have the business cards. If you have an encounter with an officer and you make a request for a business card, the officer should, within their discretion, provide you a business card. But on a whole, that question is being litigated.
Thank you.
I think a lot of us who are driving these days have noticed an uptick in reckless driving. A lot of kind of leaving on highways and such. And I wanted to know, and I know this is going up across the country, kind of reckless driving. I wanted to know how the precinct thinks about traffic enforcement with regard to safety enforcement, and if there's tracking of where accidents happen. I understand you were talking, Felix, before about dispatching officers to where crime is happening. With regards to traffic enforcement, is there a monitoring of where accidents happen, how to deploy officers with that regard? And thinking about traffic enforcement, is the framing around traffic safety? Is the framing around, I've often heard ex-officers talk about fishing expeditions through traffic, of using traffic as a way to do police work, as opposed to a focus on traffic safety. So I was just wondering how the precinct kind of thinks about it and how you monitor traffic safety.
Well, again, we have analysts that they go over the data of where the traffic accidents are. and we pretty much deploy our officers to those locations. Jericho Turnpike, by the mall, 110 corridor in Melville. We tend to concentrate on areas where there are injuries involved in those accidents. So you'll see, we get pin maps and everything, and we get heat maps of where, and basically that's how we deploy our officers. Also, at community meetings, we get plenty of complaints of the stop sign on the corner of the guy's house. So we have some officers that do strictly traffic, and we kind of try to spread it around and to concentrate on the complaints. But mainly, we will be where we have high accident locations. There's probably a list of 10 of them in the precinct, and the officers know that when they're on patrol, they're supposed to go to those areas and do traffic enforcement there to try and limit the amount of injuries and accidents. So that's kind of how it goes.
Can I also add? PLAB members, I think that's a great question, and that's something that we can look to implement on the dashboard. You know, no one really asked the question, can we display visually, you know, high crash location on the dashboard? That's okay.
I'll add that to my list, yeah, thank you.
So, I wanna say, I know it's getting late and I know we're getting time. I wanna say thank you guys for even showing up, and thank you for coming and taking the time out of it. I know it's about to get late and then we have to close, so I wanna say thank you. I know she has one more thing, but I wanna say thank you before we close up. Thank you again.
Yeah? Hold on, we have one more. Nope, we have one more. It's coming.
Hello, my name is Alyssa, and I would like to say thank you to all the officers and all the people that have came today. I have a story that I would like to share from my past life when I first met an officer. I was like 5, maybe 6, and these 2 officers came into my grandma's home. They harassed her, they came after her, and it was a bad experience for me as a child. I don't know the full story, but all I heard was yelling, and my grandma was a sweet, sick old woman. She was really sick, and really old. But she was an amazing person, so I didn't know what would happen. Then, after a while, I started blaming the cops, blaming them for what had happened, because I thought, man, is this really what's happening? Is this what the economy is like? I thought police were bad. I didn't trust them until I met Officer Levy. Officer Levy was the first ever officer I've ever trusted, and he has helped me through 6th grade to 7th grade. And that's when I met Alyssa and her partner.
Jamie.
Hi, Jamie. Sorry. And they became also my best friends that I learned to trust and believe in. And if I ever had a problem, I knew I can come to them. And then one day, my grandma brought me to a police meeting, where I met the inspector, the detectives, and all the other officers. I've also learned to trust them and respect them. So I would like to thank you all for showing me that there's not just bad cops in the world, but actually good ones.
Just to piggyback before we close out, it was said earlier about the Civilian Academy and how everyone in here, you should inquire about going through that. One of the things that you're going to hear is that one of the most dangerous things that officers go on to is domestic calls and traffic stops when you pull over a vehicle. And unless you've been living under a rock, we all see what happened to the officer in Queens. And I just want to tell the officers, it's always, residents, you go about your daily lives, you never think a major incident's going to happen in your community until it happens. So I just want to tell all officers, be safe and be vigilant, and because we are just living in crazy times. So thank you.
feedback from everyone that we are going to diligently look into and try to get some answers to. At this moment, we must come to an end, and I'd like to motion that we table the remaining agenda, items on the agenda, which is new business, transparency hub suggestions, and set dates for the next 5 weeks.
I second that.
Second.
Great, Lisa.
Aye.
I agree. And then one more, thought that I had was just, everybody who's here, I know it doesn't look like the room is full, but we had a very robust conversation tonight with all the participants that we so greatly appreciate. We really encourage you to go out and tell other people in the community, your neighbors, your friends, your colleagues, your coworkers, at the bus stop, at the social things you ever do, about this board and these meetings, and please encourage them to join us. And they can visit our website at www.2ndplab.com, and we have a community submission form there on the website. And then they can also send us emails, get in touch with us, sign up for our email notifications from there as well. So we appreciate you. And David, you want to say something?
Thank you, good night.
Thank you so much, Doro.